Provide an example of a time when you were able to influence someone or a group to accept your ideas or proposal. So this is really looking at your advocacy ability and your ability to persuade people by using that advocacy. And I think the focus should be on how you did it, not just on what you did. What they're really looking for is some more evidence that you are, or at least have the potential to be, a good advocate. This can be legal, but also some of the best answers aren't legal. They're in completely different contexts. So for example, giving a legal example, maybe you were in a moot and you persuaded the judge towards a point of law that was a bit risky to argue. But we also know that's quite a niche example and not everybody will have had the opportunity to do that. So another example is maybe you persuaded your boss to give you more time on a project when they didn't initially want to. Something where the person you were talking to wasn't initially inclined to agree with you, but once you've spoken with them, they came round to your point of view. The panel aren't looking for somebody who's bossy or argumentative, they're looking for somebody who can put forward a clear argument and who can persuade people using that. So as I said earlier, focus on how you did this. So for example, you collected evidence, you set out your argument clearly, and you addressed any counter arguments. And the outcome was that they eventually agreed with you and you got the idea, and they accepted the idea or proposal you were putting forward. So really focus on how you persuade somebody. Think how an advocate would approach this and reflect on how you did that yourself. And as I said, that can be in a legal or a non-legal context. What has inspired you to become a barrister, and what have you done to find out about a career as a barrister? This question is really looking at your motivation. Do you really want to be a barrister? And what have you done to find out more about this career? Remember, you're asking them to give you money, you're asking them to invest in you effectively, and you pay them back by becoming a good barrister in the future. And so they want somebody who has the potential to be a good barrister. So do you really want to be a barrister is what they're testing, and how have you shown that? You've gone out of your way and you've put in the effort to find out about this career. You haven't just been handed a pamphlet on being a barrister and thought, oh, that sounds okay, I'll give that a go. And if you've got to that stage, I really doubt that's the case anyway. So maybe talk about what gave you the idea to become a barrister and then how you explored that further. And you could link that to how you see your career going forward. If you have a vision of your career plan and you tell that to the panel, it shows that you are really serious about doing this career. You don't have to know what area of law you want to go into. Maybe just some idea of what area of law you'd like to go into or how you'd like your practice to develop. So for example, I spoke about how I did a careers test, which eventually led me to study law, and I did a moot on family law, so I did a mini pupillage in family law, which I want to focus on in my career. Show that you've put in effort with things like mini pupillages, mooting, going to talks, watching online hearings, which you can do at the moment, or joining any organisations which are often free to join. So for example, a bar society at university. And perhaps doing other things which aren't necessarily bar related, which are related to the area of law you want to go into. So maybe you've volunteered for a domestic violence charity because you're interested in family law, or a charity which helps children excluded from school because you're interested in education law. Just something that shows that you've really put in the effort and that you're dedicated to this career. And as we've spoken about before, some of these experiences aren't necessarily obvious at the outset. It doesn't have to be, I've had the most amazing legal internship, I've had the most amazing mini pupillage or marshalling experience, although all of those things are very useful. You don't have to have the most incredible examples of legal experience. Just show how the legal experience or any experience that you have had has furthered your interest in the bar and that you sought them out because you're interested in the bar. Best of luck. If you've got to this stage already, then I'm sure you are on the ball and that you'll be very successful. So just write these applications, rewrite them and rewrite them again, get somebody else to read over them, and Good luck.
So this sort of question is something that I have to think about a lot. It's not something that I think comes straight away. You have to really think about a time that you've done something. The first thing is, don't make something up. People think, oh, I'll just make up this time when I pretended I was some superhero and did something really amazing. Do not make something up, because in interview, if they ask you about something and you forget what you said, or that they will realise that you have made that up. Honestly, do not make something up. That is the biggest piece of advice for this question that I can give. So an example of a time. So in answering this question, obviously, again, you need another example, and you need to. It's trying to showcase that you've got skills that a barrister would need. So obviously, a barrister stands up in court and has to persuade the court of their clients. If you're for a defendant, their client's innocence, or if you're for the prosecution in a criminal case, of the guilt of the defendant. So you need to be persuasive. So it's trying to show how you've done that before you've become a barrister. Have you got these skills? So you just need to think of a time where maybe somebody didn't agree with something that you said. It can be like in a work scenario where you had a disagreement potentially with like a boss or something like that. And don't say in your answer, don't say, I shouted at my boss, I had a disagreement, so I told them that they were wrong. You need to think about how you would do that in a diplomatic way. So how you would say, I had a disagreement with my boss. I thought that this in the business wasn't working for this reason, this reason, this reason. So then what did you do? I spoke to my boss. I told him about what I was thinking. I did this, this, and this, and then the outcome that was achieved. So you're using your skills that you would use as a barrister to, in effect, persuade someone or change their mind on something. And then the big part of that question is you want to say the outcome and what you achieved from that. So you want to say they weren't very sure of my idea in the beginning, but they said we could give it a go. We gave it a go. Actually, it worked really well. And it's now something that they implement day to day in the business. That is something great. I mean, even if you don't have some massive idea, it's just something small. So I think in my application, I spoke about something when I worked at McDonald's, and I suggested something to a manager, and then now it's something that they implement in McDonald's. I mean, it's not anything amazing. This is the thing, for all of these questions, you don't have to think of examples that make you seem an incredible person. I think, if anything, that they're not expecting that. If you've done something amazing, then great, definitely talk about it. But a lot of people just have general day-to-day things that they've done. Just use them, and it's the way you use the examples and the way that you talk about it that makes these things effective. So yeah, that's my advice. Good luck. Give an example of a situation where you had to show determination and drive to overcome barriers and challenges to achieve a successful outcome. Obviously, it asks for a situation where you've shown determination and drive to overcome barriers and challenges. So you need to pick out the different things of the question here. So you need to show an example of a situation. So straight away, if you don't pick out an example, that's not great. And then determination and drive to overcome barriers. So a really important thing about this, you're wanting to show each step. So what you did, how this was a challenge, how you overcame the challenge, and how you showed determination and drive in overcoming this challenge. And then in the end, how the outcome was successful. So you need to kind of do a step-by-step guide. I think a really important thing here is not to necessarily pick out something that isn't really a barrier or a challenge. So a lot of people in application forms will say, I was supposed to get an A star, but I got an A. That isn't what they're looking for. You know, they will know that you're high achieving. Often academic people achieve high academic achievements who are wanting to pursue a career at the bar. So it needs to be something that's more, I really struggled I mean, obviously, if you don't want to talk about something, that's also fine. If it's something too personal, you don't have to pick anything too personal. But for example, for me, a barrier and challenge that I had was having to work alongside university, and that was affecting my grades. So I had to prioritise things, sort out time management and things. And then after first and second year achieving a 2-1, I finally got that balance in final year and achieved a first. So that's something you need to pick out things like that.
Why do you want to pursue a career at the bar? This is a tricky question. I think the best thing to do is to be honest, because if you're not honest and you come up with what you think the panel wants to hear, they're going to see right through it. If you have some cool backstory as to what prompted your interest in the bar, then great, put it in. I don't think anything is too strange or too personal to put into this section. Skills and attributes that are transferable to a career at the bar. I think there are a lot more transferable skills than people think. One of the big things, obviously, with being a barrister is that you're going to be spending a lot of your time doing advocacy. You're going to be up in front of people speaking. You want to be persuasive and clear. So I think any sort of experience you have of speaking to people is great to put on. So if you've worked at a bar, put it on. If you've worked in a customer service role, put it on, because this is all showing that you know how to interact with people. You know, teaching is another great way of showing that you have the ability to stand up in front of a class and to deliver information to them.
Case, you're making a case, you know, just as you are in court, you're making a case, but you know, you're the subject matter of your own case. You say, look, you know, these are 3 or 4 skills I've got, these are 3 or 4 attributes I've got. I think that these skills, this marriage of my skills and my attributes, you know, could really be useful at the bar, could be helpful in my barristerial life.
What do you believe the panel are looking for in an applicant? I think the main thing the panel are looking for is someone with potential to succeed in a career at the bar. They don't want you to walk in and be this already amazing, experienced, very polished advocate. They just want to see that you know what it takes to succeed at the bar and that you have what it takes. So they're looking for enthusiasm, determination, the idea that you know it's going to be tough, but that you're not going to give up until you get there. That's what I think they really want to see.
They're obviously looking for potential to be an advocate, to be a barrister. So they're looking for your ability to write, speak, analyse and persuade. I think they're the 2 key skills, the ability to analyse data and then persuade people that your view of that data is correct. I mean data in the widest sense of the word, really.
What structure did you adopt when answering the application? I don't know if I necessarily had a structure, but I did have a list of the things that I wanted the panel to know about. So I'd gone through and written down all of the legal related things that I'd done and the achievements that I had, and knew that I had to show this to the panel in some way. So I made sure that by the end of the application form, I'd managed to talk about all of those experiences at some point. I think the key thing to remember is that the people reading the application form are going to be reading absolutely loads of them. So you want to keep your answers short, clear, and to the point. You want to put your best point right at the very start, because that's when the person reading it is going to be paying most attention to your application form.